leg is jumping up and down. Anxiety filling my body every time someone else gets up to turn in their test. I can hear the clock ticking. I keep looking up at the time, checking how many minutes I have left to finish. 4 more minutes. The people who are done with their tests start talking, and it distracts me even more. I am only on question 12 out of 25. The bell rings, and I am forced to give my teacher my test with answers I rush to fill in. I know when I get my score back, it will be an F. This is only a tiny glimpse into the many anxiety-inducing situations I've experienced during school. Time limits, stressful test taking, and anxiety. Throughout my education, I was unaware I suffered from a learning difference. I knew it took me a little longer to grasp and retain my lessons, but my grandmother was there and provided additional learning support. When I was 8, she passed away, and I was left to navigate my educational hurdles alone. Going to school every day soon became something I hated. It wasn't because I didn't have friends or a good school environment, but it was because I hated the way I could not memorize anything. I would study for hours on end, and I would still not understand the material I was learning in my classes. My self-esteem was negatively impacted for the next few years. I convinced myself that I was dumb, that my brain was made wrong and I was not made for school. But during my 8th grade year, that all changed when I was diagnosed with a learning difference. These tests are intelligence or IQ standardized achievement, reading, writing, arithmetic test. The diagnosis provided me with a new understanding of myself and how I learned. I no longer questioned my intelligence or my ability to learn. The diagnosis meant that while it required more time to digest and recall information, I wasn't alone. That there were other people who had been through the same struggles in their education, and they got through it, just like I would. I was lucky enough to be tested for a learning difference, and it changed my relationship with school. But this isn't the case for every student. Testing for learning differences should be accessible to all students, and support should be accessible to all students. Let's define a learning difference. Learning differences are disorders that affect the ability to understand or use spoken or written language, do mathematical calculations, coordinate movements, or direct attention. Simply put, children and adults with learning differences see, hear, and understand things differently. In the United States, about 1 in 5 students have a learning difference, meaning they experience challenges with organization, memorization, or attention, especially in academics such as reading, writing, and math. Each one of us has different ways of learning and how we memorize best. It is important to understand that there are 3 types of learners. The first type of learners are visual learners, where people retain more information by seeing visual objects such as graphs, charts, pictures, and seeing the information. Visual learners tend to turn notes into pictures, charts, or maps. The second type of learner are auditory learners. People who are auditory learners retain information through hearing and speaking. They often prefer to be told how to do something and then summarize the main points out loud to help with the memorization. The third type of learner is a kinesthetic learner. They learn best by using a hands-on approach to learning new material. Most people who fall into this category would rather demonstrate how to do something rather than verbally explain it. Personally, I fall between visual and auditory learning. I prefer to study by rewriting the content and material and repeating it out loud to myself. I was able to understand how I learned best with the support from my teachers and staff while getting to understand my learning difference. The support I received from my teachers helped me grow academically and succeed in school. But for many, this isn't the case, and as a society, there are so many more things we can do to help students with learning differences. The biggest turning point for my education and learning was when I got tested for a learning difference. This opened my eyes and allowed me to get the support I needed, but this was not easy or cheap. Getting tested for a learning difference costs about $1,000, and the waitlist for these tests can literally be years. A doctor's note is required, and teachers will need to confirm that the student is struggling. This can be very hard for students who have little to no access to healthcare, or for doctors, or for students whose teachers are overwhelmed and overworked and might miss the struggles they are having in their classes. Because of these barriers, students will sit in class and fall behind before they are able to, if ever, get the diagnosis for the extra support they need. I believe every student who needs to should have the opportunity to be tested for a learning difference. These tests should be available and administered at school with the help of a teacher or an administrator. We can also encourage more communication between teachers and parents. This will help parents understand where their child is struggling in their education and where the extra support might be needed. Building more consistent parent-teacher conferences promotes communication and understanding between teachers and parents. Parents and teachers are on the same team when it comes to a student's education, and this relationship should be fostered more. When students are diagnosed with a learning difference, there are a number of ways we can support their education and learning. Creating a safe, separate, consistent, dedicated space that is quiet and distraction-free helps students focus on their work or task at hand and be more successful. Providing more tutors or teachers' aides can be an invaluable resource to students. It provides one-on-one help and support for the student and gives the flexibility to the tutor to explain the content in a variety of ways that best fits the student's learning style. Parents can focus on their child more by sitting down with them as they complete their work. This will give the parents a good idea of the things the child is struggling with and where they might need extra support. Communicating with your child to see how they are progressing and understanding the material is crucial for challenges that may exist. Finally, we can all do our part to take care of the emotional and mental health of children with learning differences. Be patient, be kind, and practice empathy. Try to understand where the child is coming from. Celebrate their wins and their strengths and lift them up when they need it. When we all do this, kids will be empowered in themselves and confident in their abilities. If I could look back on the Jonnae before she got tested, I would tell her her brain is not broken. It doesn't need to be fixed or changed. You are just different. Learn to use your difference as your superpower. Thank you.